Hey everyone, Corey here with another lesson from Lawless Drums, and today I'm going to be talking about implied metric modulation. Now, in that mouthful of a sentence I just said, I really want to stress the word implied because I think there's a lot of confusion going around between actual metric modulation and implied metric modulation. Really, from a drummer's point of view, I think what we're normally referring to is implied. But I'll go ahead and briefly tell you about metric modulation. And in order to get an idea of what that is, you just need to understand two things: rhythmic value and duration. Okay? So rhythmic value, what is that? That is any symbol that represents a note's value within a tempo. Now, when I say that, I'm referring to like a quarter note that equals 1 beat, or a half note equals 2 beats, so on and so forth. But it doesn't actually tell you how much real world time goes by when each of those beats are played. So like if you play a quarter note, which is 1 beat, we don't actually know how many seconds on the clock are ticking and going by, okay? That's where duration comes in. So duration is going to be the amount of real world time that passes by when each note, each rhythmic value is represented. So you could have 1 second that is a half note being played at 120 BPMs, or you could have a quarter note that is played at 60 BPMs. So it would have the same duration though of 1 second. So what is metric modulation? Metric modulation is going to be the changing from one tempo to a new tempo while keeping the same duration, real world time, between the change. So basically, if we have to keep the duration the same, then the rhythmic value must change. So if I'm going to do a metric modulation from a quarter note to a half note, and I'm playing 60 BPMs on the quarter note, and I'm keeping it the same duration, then when I hit that, when I go to 120 BPMs, then the rhythmic value is going to change to half notes in order to keep that duration the same. So I hope that made sense. But what we're going to be talking about is implied metric modulation, which is what I just described, but the difference is going to be that in the context of a song, so let's say a song is in 4/4, it's played at 120 BPMs, okay? We, as the drummer, are going to be doing our own modulation within that song, but the song is not going to change at all. It's not going to change with us. We are just going to be briefly, for maybe 4 bars, modulating by ourselves, and that is going to create the illusion of metric modulation. So it's more of an illusion. It's not an actual complete time change, and I'm going to show you how to do it because it sounds cool. And why not? Now let me go ahead and say that I've written these exercises out as if they are staying in 16th note 4/4 notation. So although I've written 16th notes into 8th note triplets, it's giving the illusion of an 8th note triplet, but it's staying in the same time signature. So essentially it's just displaced kicks and snares every 3 16th notes, which gives it the illusion of the 8th note triplet feel. But it's really, but I'm not writing it that way because I want you to understand that the 16th note pulse does not change. So just keep that in mind with each of these exercises, and you'll develop the feel of implied metric modulation. Enjoy. Well, guys, I hope that made at least a little bit of sense to you. And in conclusion, I just want to state that this was implied metric modulation, at least what I believe it is, and not real metric modulation. It gave the illusion of modulating, but stayed the same tempo, same time signature. The rhythmic value actually stayed the same, but we simply displaced the snare drum backbeat, and that created the illusion. So for 16th notes, you play a snare drum. If you're playing a snare drum on 2 and 4, you would play the snare drum every 4 hi-hat notes, and you keep that relative during your modulation by playing the snare drum every 3 beats. It gives the illusion, every 3 hi-hat notes, excuse me. And then with 8th notes, you play the snare drum every 2 hi-hat notes. And then with quarter notes, you play it on every 2nd hi-hat note. So with that being said, it's an illusion. It is not actually, it's literally just displacing notes to give it the feel of metric modulation. So I really hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope you at least make some cool sounding stuff out of this knowledge and get to apply it to some real world situations. Anyways, I hope to see you guys next time. Take care.